are now joined in a great national effort to rebuild our country and restore its promise for all of our people. Together, we will determine the course of America and the world for many, many years to come. We will face challenges. We will confront hardships, but we will get the job done. Every 4 years, we gather on these steps to carry out the orderly and peaceful transfer of power. And we are grateful to President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama for their gracious aid throughout this transition. They have been magnificent. Thank you. Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. Politicians prospered, but the jobs left and the factories closed. The establishment protected itself, but not the citizens of our country. Their victories have not been your victories. Their triumphs have not been your triumphs. And while they celebrated in our nation's capital, there was little to celebrate for struggling families all across our land. That all changes starting right here and right now, because this moment is your moment. It belongs to you. It belongs to everyone gathered here today and everyone watching all across America. This is your day. This is your celebration. And this, the United States of America, is your country. What truly matters is not which party controls our government, but whether our government is controlled by the people. January 20th, 2017 will be remembered as the day the people became the rulers of this nation again. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. Everyone is listening to you now. You came by the tens of millions to become part of a historic movement, the likes of which the world has never seen before. At the center of this movement is a crucial conviction that a nation exists to serve its citizens. Americans want great schools for their children, safe neighborhoods for their families, and good jobs for themselves. These are just and reasonable demands.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers.
They seem to be in full-scale retreat from spending cuts. and are talking about raising people's taxes again. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is on now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program. On this Friday, this Johnny Cash Friday. Thanks so much for being with us. We got a great show for you. Well, we're going to be going really through all of the headlines. There's a ton of them out there. As what appears, this weekend appears to be a countdown, in a sense. A countdown, in a sense, as to, we don't know specifically what time it is, but at the end of the countdown, whatever amount of time is on the clock, it's a countdown to when the left is going to be violent. They're already turning out and protesting, which is fine, right? In America, right? Protest, right? Protest your government, redress of grievances. But this is going to be not that in the end. This is going to turn violent. I saw a video of a man roundhouse kick a lady in the face at a pro-life event. I'll tell you about that. Did you see this guy? This hipster, this cowardly man who didn't like the facts that a baby was a baby, even if the baby is created under, let's just say not ideal circumstances for the woman, still a baby. And a man then roundhouse kicks the lady, knocks her down, and then he says, I didn't mean to do that. I was just trying to kick your phone. Sort of, like he's some sort of karate kid. It's like, oh, well, I'm sorry. I meant to, yeah, Johnny. Yeah, he does Johnny sweep the legs. That's essentially what's going on. It's a Johnny sweep the legs move. Folks, it's Johnny Cash Friday, where we try to listen to as much Johnny Cash music as we can, while at the same time peppering in the news and events of the day. Man, I'm telling you, this has been a wild 2 weeks. A week ago Friday, we were talking about, a week delay, and actually, a week ago Friday we didn't even know what Jeff Flake was going to do. It was a week ago Friday around 12:30. Where the Senate Judiciary Committee met, and they did move Kavanaugh from the committee. They had the votes out of the Judiciary Committee onto the floor, but then, of course, Jeff Flake was like, but we need a week. We need a week, and we need to, have an FBI investigation and everything else. Well, folks, it turns out that in this week, right, in this week's time, it has done more to strengthen Brett Kavanaugh's case. I think there was the concern, well, they're just going to go find more women, right? The Democrat Party, though, is flailing right now. The Democrat Party is desperate right now. They are desperate because they know their progressive victories from the court are going to come to a halt for a long time because Ruth Bader Ginsburg is next. And they know, ladies and gentlemen, that this is really a coffin nail in their agenda, because they can very rarely get legislative victories. Even when they do get legislative victories, they have to lie about it. And that's why they're so desperate here. It turns out, though, was there another accusation made against him in the week? In this week of FBI investigations. Oh, and it's also no shock here that the goalposts get moved. It's like at some point, even the mainstream media, you would think there would be somebody in the mainstream media that would be skeptical of this. Like we didn't see this coming. FBI investigation. We need an FBI investigation. Why aren't you open to an FBI investigation? Hey, you're Brett Kavanaugh. You're a white man. You look like you're hiding something. We need an FBI investigation against you. And nobody saw it coming that once the Democrats got what they were asking for, then they would immediately like, well, the FBI. I mean, it's an executive agency under the Justice Department, and this isn't legitimate. This isn't a legitimate investigation. It's the FBI, and they answer to Donald Trump. I mean, we're not going to get a fair shake here, even though they were talking about how an FBI. Oh, the FBI needs to do their due diligence, and they need to ask these questions, and they need to do an FBI investigation. And I mean, the mainstream media at this point, I mean, if they were objective. Okay, if they were objective, even an objective press would have to say that delay has been the goal here. And if delay is the goal here, then it's not about advising consent. It's not about honoring the Constitution. It's about politics. And that is, even Lindsey Graham. I was listening to Lindsey Graham, Republican. He was being interviewed by somebody, and he was saying, look, when I voted for Sotomayor and I voted for Elena Kagan, he said, I was the smartest man, according to the press in Washington, D.C. A Republican is going to vote for Barack Obama's Supreme Court nominees, and I'm the smartest guy in this town. And now that I stand up and I defend Brett Kavanaugh, I'm some big dummy. I'm telling you, I have been amazed. I have, and I told you this yesterday. It is amazing what a strong leader does when it comes to being combating the press. Let's just say combating the press. Let's say trying to do things that the American people want, like build the wall, like tax reform, trying to do things like the American people want, like stand up for American sovereignty on the global stage. Okay, and Donald Trump gets all this pushback, right? But he is succeeding. His policies appear to be working, right? And then what does he do when the media attacks him? He refuses to dance to the beat that they're setting. Instead he's the guy on the dance floor that's like dancing to just like, man, is he hearing the music? That's what the press like. Is he hearing the music? He just said something and we called it outrageous, and he doesn't think it's outrageous. As a matter of fact, he's going on to these rallies and then the American people are not dancing for some reason to the beat. To the rhythm that we're putting out there. They're not dancing to it either at these rallies. What's going on? Why are we not having the influence that we used to have? And now all of a sudden, these Republicans that quite honestly have had terrible voting records when it comes to trying to limit government or limit spending, but you've got Mitch McConnell now that feels like he has the support to go out there and say, we are going to vote. The Democrats, you have Chuck Grassley that's now being at least combative with the mainstream media. He's going out and saying, you guys are biased. We actually have that clip. Let's go to this. Let's go to Chuck Grassley. I found this Daily Caller article here, the headline, which is Grassley gets fired up saying he wants to show the media where some of you have bias. You see that article there? Now go to the YouTube video, and this is Chuck Grassley at their press conference yesterday. Take a listen.
Committee take any kind of action against the attorneys for Dr. Blasey Ford?
We don't prosecute.
Or will you refer them to the ABA?
Right now, I'd say I don't know, and I don't know there's any reason to. I think that what I'd like to do when we get all done, because this is almost rock bottom, I would like to have the future mending things so we can do things in a collegial way that the United States Senate ought to do, and particularly when it comes to Supreme Court nominations. And you folks can have something to do with this. Now, I would never use the word fake news. I consider you folks policemen for our democratic system of government. But I want to show you where some of you have bias. I've had demonstrators in my office for 2 weeks now, both for Kavanaugh and against Kavanaugh. And one time, the people that were for Kavanaugh wanted to be interviewed. And they said, we're only interested in interviewing people against Kavanaugh. Now, that's a bias that none of you should be proud of.
Chairman Grassley,
Stop here. Stop. Yeah, I mean, he is exactly right, I mean, essentially, I think Donald Trump's strong leadership has activated these rank and file Republicans who A lot of us may not have been, proud how they've conducted themselves, how they've run Washington, D.C., over their time there. But, isn't this something to be like, this is just in a way it's kind of remarkable, isn't it? Now, and notice they're still measured, right? I would never use the term fake news on you people. That's what the president. So they still have this, distance, right? Which I don't understand, by the way. I mean, at this point, there's a mountain of evidence. These people are fake news, right? We've known this for a long time, right? I mean, I always try to go back to, because it never gets enough attention. I always go back to George Zimmerman, right, and Trayvon Martin, right? The Associated Press invented a term called white Hispanic. When they found out this guy was Hispanic, then they invented the term white Hispanic. NBC News edited the 911 tape to make it sound like Trayvon Martin was shot because he was black. My point is, they are fake news, okay? They have an agenda. It is obviously clear. I'm at least being honest with you, right? You love this program, love Conduit News, love Paul Harrell's conservative take on the events, or hate it, okay? At least I'm not trying to say objectively the Democrats. I'm not trying to fool you. I want to be honest with you. Matter of fact, I welcome the criticism, because I think we have to have these conversations. We have to acknowledge that people have different points of view. The media here, though, is clearly out to get President Donald Trump. They're clearly out to stop his agenda. They're clearly in bed with all of the political forces that want to do that, and yet they're trying to tell people that they're somehow objective, and it's maddening at this point. But Chuck Grassley does have a good point. People camped out at his office protesting for Kavanaugh, protesting against Kavanaugh, and the mainstream media wants to interview none of the people who want Kavanaugh, because they're all about getting an emotional response. An objective report, if you really want to be honest, would be, so we interviewed people who are for Kavanaugh. This is what they said. We're here on the ground. This is news, right? This is the news, or the new developments of a situation. The Supreme Court fight for Brett Kavanaugh. Here are the people camped out in Chuck Grassley's office who are against Kavanaugh, right? We hate him. Here are the people who are for him. We love him. Back to you, Bob. We've given you the opinion of these two people, these two groups. Back to you. That is the news, or the new developments on this unfolding story. Anyway, it's just ridiculous. Now, notice the first question actually in this press conference was to Grassley, or in this clip was, "Are you going to prosecute Christine Blasey Ford? Are you going to refer her to prosecution?" Because he had a letter that essentially remarked that, according to the sworn statement of her ex-boyfriend from the 90s, that she perjured herself. I mean, he didn't use the word perjury, but he said there are some inconsistencies here. They're wanting to know. I personally think Christine Blasey Ford should go to jail for 18 months. That's what I think. I think that would stop some of this nonsense right now. I'm dead serious. This would stop some of this nonsense right now, and you're not going to come. It's one thing. It's, something may have happened to Christine Blasey Ford, okay? Sometime, someplace, somewhere. That's what Brett Kavanaugh said. It's very possible. But when you can't name the date and you go from, well, it happened in the late 1980s. Whoops, no, it didn't, because Brett Kavanaugh would have been in Yale, or would have been at Yale at that time. Oh, it happened in the 80s. Oh, no, you know what? Never mind. I remember. 1982. Well, what house was it at? What's the address? No. What was the date? I don't know. I only had one beer at the party, though, but I don't know how I got there, and I don't know how I got home. Okay, so a reasonable person, and if we actually had reasonable attorneys that weren't working for the Democrats trying to make political points here, they would have said, yeah, that's really unfortunate. Like, I think but there's just no way that you need to go before a committee of Congress under oath because you might perjure yourself. You see what I'm saying? And the allegations never would have been brought forth because it would have been in Christine Blasey Ford's interest for her attorneys to tell her that. And based on that, I think she should go to jail for perjuring herself. I think there should be charges against this because this was a political play. This was a political play, and when you're using the wheels of government and you're getting involved and you're obstructing a process and you're also destroying a man's reputation, doesn't there need to be consequences? Now, I don't look for there to be. I don't think that there's going to be actual consequences for Christine Blasey Ford. I don't think she's going to be prosecuted for perjury because she's a Democrat, And maybe, the Republicans would be uncomfortable with, some Republicans, I'm sure, would be uncomfortable with that. But I think, listen, if they're not going to prosecute James Clapper for lying to Congress about spying on Americans, they're certainly not going to prosecute Christine Blasey Ford for perjuring herself over a political process, the confirmation of Supreme Court justice. The telephone number is 870-275-9799. We got more news to get to on this Johnny Cash Friday, folks. We're going to go through the news of the day, and a lot of it's going to be centered around Brett Kavanaugh. Also, I'd love to hear what you guys think. You can sound off on Facebook.com/Conduit News or the YouTube channel, as well as give me a phone call or a text message. I'd love to hear from you guys today. What do you think about this whole process? 870-275-9799. Back in just a moment.
Righteous people and a righteous public. But for too many of our citizens, a different reality exists. Mothers and children trapped in poverty in our inner cities. Rusted out factories scattered like tombstones across the landscape of our nation. An education system flush with cash, but which leaves our young and beautiful students deprived of all knowledge. And the crime, and the gangs, and the drugs that have stolen too many lives and robbed our country of so much unrealized potential. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. We are one nation, and their pain is our pain. Their dreams are our dreams, and their success will be our success. We share one heart, one home, and one glorious destiny. The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans. For many decades, we've enriched foreign industry at the expense of American industry, subsidized the armies of other countries while allowing for the very sad depletion of our military. We've defended other nations' borders while refusing to defend our own. And spent trillions and trillions of dollars overseas while America's infrastructure has fallen into disrepair and decay. We've made other countries rich while the wealth, strength, and confidence of our country has dissipated over the horizon. One by one, the factories shuttered and left our shores, with not even a thought about the millions and millions of American workers that were left behind. The wealth of our middle class has been ripped from their homes and then redistributed all across the world. But that is the past, and now we are looking only to the future. We assembled here today are issuing a new decree to be heard in every city, in every foreign capital, and in every hall of power. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first. America first. Every decision on trade, on taxes, on immigration, on foreign affairs will be made to benefit American workers and American families. We must protect our borders from the ravages of other countries making our products, stealing our companies, and destroying our jobs. Protection will lead to great prosperity and strength. I will fight for you with every breath in my body, and I will never, ever let you down. America will start winning again, winning like never before. We will bring back our jobs. We will bring back our borders. We will bring back our wealth. And we will bring back our dreams. We will build new roads and highways and bridges and airports and tunnels and railways all across our wonderful nation. We will get our people off of welfare and back to work, rebuilding our country with American hands and American labor. We will follow two simple rules.
All right, welcome back. Johnny Cash Friday here. So, and we got the inauguration speech of President Donald Trump playing across our digital platforms. Hey, we got a few of your comments here on Facebook. Mark is writing that he thinks that the Kavanaugh vote is going to be postponed until after the midterm elections. That would certainly be. I would be very upset if that was the case. Very upset. And you know, people are going to say, "Well, Paul, don't you see that there's all this momentum and it's going to outrage people? People will turn out the polls better if they did postpone the vote or if there was some sort of." Listen, I don't think people realize. I don't care. Like, do you realize the significance of confirming Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court? If you want to defeat liberalism and progressivism and the reinterpretation of words in our Constitution, the redefining of words, then Brett Kavanaugh has to be on that court. And matter of fact, if you let the left win now, okay, and we don't bear down, we don't buckle down, I think the cloture vote, according to reports, they're going to vote on cloture sometime this morning, probably around 10:30. If we don't bear down and we don't see this thing through, and our leaders in D.C. don't actually, if they fail and they fail to lead and they kowtow again, now it could just be one or two people that are the failures here. Folks, I don't see how you ever get even an Amy Coney Barrett. I don't think how in the world, if you let the left win here and you don't confirm Kavanaugh, what makes you think Amy Coney Barrett would be any different? Well, Paul, they're not going to say she's a sexual predator. I bet you they would. They would find something. And if it's not a sexual predator thing because she's a woman, right, it'll be, she's married and has a lot of children. They've already attacked her there. By the way, there's already the website. Back when they thought they were about to torpedo the Kavanaugh confirmation, somebody bought up the website stopamyconeybarrett.com or bought the domain name. The left is not going to stop, right? Now, Tim on Facebook rightly notes that the week delay, thanks to Jeff Flake, and I'm not calling him, well, let's just hope, I don't want to jinx anything. The week delay does give them the ability to bus in protesters, and that's exactly what we've seen. Where there's a Zero Hedge article. There's other articles we're going to get to. I'm going to show you the photos when we come back next of, the George Soros-funded, the people who are now bust into D.C., hey, ho, ho, Kavanaugh has got to go. Just a contingency of, it's a broad coalition, let's say. You've got celebrities like Amy Schumer, and you've got hair under the arm Democrat women. We're going to take a break. Back in just a moment.
and hire American. We will seek friendship and goodwill with the nations of the world, but we do so with the understanding that it is the right of all nations to put their own interests first. We do not seek to impose our way of life on anyone, but rather to let it shine as an example. We will shine for everyone to follow. We will reinforce old alliances and form new ones and unite the civilized world against radical Islamic terrorism, which we will eradicate completely from the face of the earth. At the bedrock of our politics will be a total allegiance to the United States of America. And through our loyalty to our country, we will rediscover our loyalty to each other. When you open your heart to patriotism, there is no room for prejudice. The Bible tells us how good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. We must speak our minds openly, debate our disagreements honestly, but always pursue solidarity. When America is united, America is totally unstoppable. There should be no fear. We are protected, and we will always be protected. We will be protected by the great men and women of our military and law enforcement. And most importantly, we will be protected by God. Finally, we must think big and dream even bigger. In America, we understand that a nation is only living as long as it is striving. We will no longer accept politicians who are all talk and no action, constantly complaining but never doing anything about it. The time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action. Do not allow anyone to tell you that it cannot be done. No challenge can match the heart and fight and spirit of America. We will not fail. Our country will thrive and prosper again. We stand at the birth of a new millennium, ready to unlock the mysteries of space, to free the earth from the miseries of disease, and to harness the energies, industries, and technologies of tomorrow. A new national pride will stir our souls, lift our sights, and heal our divisions. It's time to remember that old wisdom our soldiers will never forget, that whether we are black or brown or white, we all bleed the same red blood of patriots. We all enjoy the same glorious freedoms, and we all salute the same great American flag. And whether a child is born in the urban sprawl of Detroit or the windswept plains of Nebraska, they look up at the same night sky, they fill their heart with the same dreams, and they are infused with the breath of life by the same almighty Creator. So to all Americans in every city, near and far, small and large, from mountain to mountain, from ocean to ocean, hear these words: you will never be ignored again. Your voice, your hopes, and your dreams will define our American destiny. And your courage and goodness and love will forever guide us along the way. Together.
Okay, so welcome back. I can't believe I said this. Johnny Cash Friday. There was a meme. I cannot find the meme. It has vanished. I don't know where it is. I searched for it, but I know I saw it because I'm not. Do what? Because I'm not crazy. But if anybody out there can find it, it was a meme about this Kavanaugh situation, and it was Billy Madison. I don't know if anybody's ever seen the Adam Sandler classic movie Billy Madison, right? And it was the scene where the love interest, the girl, is getting on the bus, and Chris Farley, is a pervert and decides to, as she's getting on the bus, she's wearing a skirt and everything else, and decides, to take a glance, and then he brings the Adam Sandler character aside, and he said, he says, hey, and he starts talking about their activities, and he says, Adam Sandler's like, no, that never happened. You're lying. And the guy immediately admits, he says, yeah, that's true. But not me personally, but it was a guy I know and her were together, and Adam Sandler says, no, that didn't happen. And he's like, no, you're right. You're right, it didn't happen. But you can imagine what it'd be like if it did happen. And so somebody took that, do you have it? Somebody took that scene and basically put Christine Blasey Ford's face over Chris Farley's face. And made a meme about the whole interaction because that's how the accusation started. Hey, me and him were intimate. No, you weren't. No, yeah, well, not me personally, but a woman I know was intimate with Brett Kavanaugh. No, they weren't. Yeah, that's true. No, they weren't. But you can imagine what it'd be like if they were, right? It's like the greatest. It's like the greatest summary. Oh my goodness. There's also another one, and Joe, I'm going to actually have to email the show account this because I forgot, but I just realized that somebody has made a graph. I'm gonna throw this one up here. Somebody made a graph of the Democrats' reasons for not voting for Brett Kavanaugh. Okay, and it's Democrats' Kavanaugh concerns over time. And first of all, do you have the Billy Madison graphic? Look at this graphic. If anybody has seen this movie, you're going to think that this is really funny. Yeah, in the meme, yeah. There's certainly, but here it is. Oh man, I know from experience. No, you don't. Well, not me personally, but a girl I know. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. But you can imagine what it'd be like if they did, right? Right? All right, so pull up this next photo, Joe. This is Democrats' concerns over Kavanaugh over time. Okay, and you can see this graph. It's actually pretty funny. They have a little, I guess, a guide to it. You have the pink in the graph is no corroborating evidence. The green in the graph is bad reasons to stop a confirmation. Okay. Are you go ahead and pull this up. And we have in the green baseball debt. Okay, that's a bad reason to stop confirmation. And then the curb goes up. Okay, sexual assault. But you see that the sexual assault here is in the pink, which is that's in the realm of no corroborating evidence. Okay, well, then it goes even more. Okay, well, what about a gang rapist? He's got to be a gang rapist, correct, right? Well, that's still in the pink. Okay, well, then we start coming back down the curb, still in the pink, which is perjury, but there's no corroborating evidence that Brett Kavanaugh perjured himself. Now we come back into the green, which is a bad reason for stopping the confirmation. He got mad, and that would be at his nomination or his hearing, where he was defending himself. Well, he got mad. He got mad at us. He got mad at us, and he was passionate about defending his reputation in front of America, in front of us, and he should be stopped. Okay, well, that's not a good reason. And then you come down the curve even more, and you eventually get to he drank in college. Well, that's not a good reason. That's not a good reason. Well, he threw ice at somebody. Well, that's not a good reason either. Yeah, I was listening to some talk radio the other day, and they were saying, do we not remember when Barack Obama and wrote a book in his book, Memoirs or Audacity of Hope, or The Mendacity of Hope, and do we not remember where he talked about drinking beer heavily and smoking marijuana and all this other stuff, and everybody was, oh yeah, fine, yeah, he's a perfect candidate. It's like he's a poster child for the best president we've ever had, and he's Barack Obama, and it's like, my goodness. By all indications, Joe Manchin is going to end up voting for Brett Kavanaugh today. That would be the Democrat from West Virginia who essentially has to vote in order to, save his political future. But then you have the Dakota. Is it North or South Dakota? Heidi Heitkamp. Anyway, she says she's going to vote against. But she's like, in the last poll, she's like 14 points behind in the latest poll, which is crazy for an incumbent to be that far behind. Unless you're Mark Pryor and it's Tom Cotton. Yeah, right. I don't even think the polls were that bad for him. But so she's essentially, I think, conceding the fact that she's going to lose in November, and the Republicans are going to pick up that seat in the Senate, the Heidi Heitkamp seat. But then you have this story that dropped. I saw this first thing this morning, and I just was like, you got to be kidding me. Please, no. But there's a Senator, Steve Daines, okay? His daughter is getting married on the same day as the Kavanaugh vote, which is Saturday. Throw this up here. This is from Breitbart. Daines, I told Kavanaugh I'll be there to vote for him as needed. Steve Daines on his daughter's wedding, falling on the same day as Kavanaugh vote. A month ago, wouldn't expect this to be in conflict with the vote. Steve Daines says, my goal this weekend is to walk my daughter down the aisle and to see a new United States Supreme Court justice. So the reports are he's going to go to his daughter's wedding. Now, he's a Republican from Montana. They're going to have a plane on standby if he needs to fly. You can hold a vote open for a while, right? Yeah, exactly. On the day of your daughter's wedding, the Sicilian custom, right? According to, Mario Puzo's Godfather. On the day of your daughter's wedding, you can ask the father of the bride for a lot of favors, I mean, you got to say it's the day of your daughter's wedding, right? You got to be generous, which I don't understand. You're being already, as a father now of a daughter, I'm not Italian, so that's not ever going to happen. You're being generous enough. You're giving your daughter away. Anyway, I would just say, we need you to come and vote for. That's one thing where we want the custom to stay alive for Steve Daines here. The American people are asking a favor of you on the day of your daughter's wedding to make sure, if you're needed, to get on that plane. Boy, can you imagine what the media is going to do if they're at 50, right? Well, I guess they wouldn't be at 50. They'd be at 49, and they would wait for the 50th vote and then Mike Pence would come in with a hammer, and he'd be the 51st. But can you imagine what the media's going to do? The plane is in the air, Bob. The plane is in the air. They'd probably, give the tail number, give the exact coordinates, broadcasting, begging somebody to do something stupid, Anyway, how long? This is, and I said this at the beginning of the hour. We are at a countdown, folks. How long until the left turns violent? They've had a week to bus in protesters because it's only gotten worse. Over at zerohedge.com, the anti-Kavanaugh protesters have descended on the Senate. There were 100 arrested, including, wait for it, Amy Schumer, ladies and gentlemen, the most funny female comedian ever to steal jokes from other comedians. That's right. Amy Schumer is not talented. She steals jokes. And by the way, I've always heard, whether, Jerry Seinfeld, right, an actual comedian, he actually accepted an award one time, and he was talking about how ridiculous actors are and how everybody worships actors, and he had this whole bit, and it was absolutely hilarious, where it talked about, quick, turn the camera on and say what we told you to say, because that's what an actor does. They say what they're told to say, and everyone's like, how could you? He has this whole bit where he's like, man, did you see so-and-so play? He played Bob Johnson, and he played him so well. But then you got people who actually make people laugh, and stand-up is the hardest thing to do, period. It's the hardest thing that you can do from an entertainment standpoint if you're just talking about, the spoken word and everything else. Because, you're coming up with your own material. There is a little bit of there can be a tinge of improv as well. Anyway, the fact of the matter is, Amy Schumer, terrible comedian, but she got arrested last night. Yeah, look at some of these photos. As we scroll through, look at that lady. Wonder what that T-shirt says. Can you tell what her T-shirt says? Then we scroll down. We believe all survivors. Now let's analyze that statement for a second. We believe all survivors is what this banner says. It's a little. So that's a great actual survivors from Benghazi. You guys don't believe them, but if you just take the slogan, we believe all survivors. Okay, great, but how do you know if she is a survivor or not? Right? She claims that she's a survivor, but how do you know that she's a survivor? Well, therein lies the problem with this ridiculous statement. But the left doesn't care about facts. Scrolling down. Let's see what else. Okay, yeah, go ahead and play this. This is from NBC News, a tweet. Anti-Kavanaugh protesters take over the Hart Senate office building, the atrium on Capitol, which is what led to the arrest. But this is what it sounded like. As we... It's very obnoxious. Do what? No, yeah, they can't come up. It's they can't come up with anything better. And I guess I don't see any men there. These are all women, right? There was one man there. Okay, so there is at least one man there confirmed, but it's still that particular chant. That's true. We don't know his gender identity, and we should issue an apology. But I will say that the chant itself, hey, hey, ho, ho, Kavanaugh's got to go, it just sounds naggy to me. I don't know why. It just sounds naggy. Is naggy a word? Can I use the word naggy? Scrolling down, let's see what do we have next. This is, I guess, more of the same. Hart anti-Kavanaugh protest getting bigger and louder. Here we go. Garrett Hake. I don't know who that is, but his Twitter video he posts. I think this is really more of the same. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, let's see. What does that say? Yeah. It's like I don't know. You know, it's just kind of nails on a chalkboard here. Let's see here. What else do we have? Anything else? Believe survivors. What is that? Hands up, don't shoot? What is that? What does that even mean? How are we where I think the left is confused here. They're just like taking all of their slogans that are based on lies, and they're just throwing everything out there now. Listen, angry, entitled, unfit to serve. So they're holding up a picture of Kavanaugh here. It says angry, entitled, and unfit to serve. Yes. He was just so angry when people were claiming that he was a gang rapist when he wasn't. And that made him angry. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? What human being thinks they can serve on the Supreme Court? What human being gets angry when you destroy their entire relationship? Anyway, eventually Amy Schumer gets arrested. Scroll down here. And does Amy keep going? That's Amy Schumer, the comedian. Yeah, let's play this video. This is of a police officer.
Were you arrested? Exit now. No.
All right, so that was the Capitol. That was a police officer, presumably Capitol Police. Look at that. Is that zip ties? Look at the zip ties they got there. They arrested 100 people, and of course that police officer there asking people if they want to get arrested, then they need to leave. Of course, he is a part of the. I'm sure the left hates that video, by the way, because that officer is black, and I'm sure they hate that video there because I mean, why would a man of color participate in this arresting people? Yeah. And then scrolling down one more time. I think here's Amy Schumer herself, the no-talent comedian who steals people's jokes. Listen to this.
Hi, Zola. I'm here with your mom. She loves you very much. I think we're going to get arrested.
And you did.
And we're so proud of you.
So that's Amy Schumer, ladies and gentlemen. She got arrested, and now she's going to be a hero of the left. A lot of these celebrities are becoming the heroes of the left. You know, Matt Damon impersonating Brett Kavanaugh on Saturday Night Live. Do you remember when Matt Damon was accused of rape and, he got swept up? But he's now back in the left's graces because he, successfully made fun of Brett Kavanaugh. Ain't that weird? He used to be, him and Ben Affleck, they're assaulting women and that was a huge deal, right? Sexual assault's a big deal, right? The accusation itself is condemning. But no, not if you're Matt Damon and you're going to make fun of someone. By the way, if you're Matt Damon and you've already been accused of sexual assault, and you think wrongfully so, right? I'm assuming Matt Damon doesn't like the fact that he was accused of sexual assault or rape or whatever, and he wants to come out and make fun of a man just because they're on opposite ends of the political spectrum. You want to come out and make fun of a guy who's being, the same thing's happening to him. But, again, if it weren't for double standards, the left would have no standards at all. It's Johnny Cash Friday. We're going to take a break. Back in a moment.
Chief Justice Roberts, President Carter, President Clinton, President Bush, President Obama, fellow Americans, and people of the world, thank you. We, the citizens of America, are now joined in a great national effort to rebuild our country and restore its promise for all of our people. Together, we will determine the course of America and the world for many, many years to come. We will face challenges. We will confront hardships. but we will get the job done.
Russellville-based firearms manufacturer Omega are making clones of the most notable German firearms in the world. These delayed rotor lock firearms have been and are currently used by law enforcement and military worldwide. At Omega, they manufacture their guns right here in Arkansas and produce the best reproduction in the marketplace that comes with a complete 5-year warranty. At Omega, they take firearm manufacturing seriously and offer discounts to active and retired law enforcement. Whether you're using Omega firearms to defend the public, defend your family, or for target practice, Omega has your back. For pricing, go to omega-guns.com. That's omega-guns.com. If you're like me, you believe that small business is the heart of Arkansas's economic engine, and it should be viewed that way by the politicians in Little Rock. Conduit for Commerce also believes, like you and I believe, policies that achieve less regulation and lower taxation help small business in Arkansas thrive. Other policies like small, constitutionally consistent government and reducing citizen dependency on government keeps it from growing and expanding its influence on our daily lives. Conduit for Commerce works every day to educate the general public and legislators on these important priorities in the name of Arkansas small business. By the way, contributions to Conduit for Commerce are tax deductible. Log on now to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Go there now and learn the facts on protecting small business in Arkansas.
For years, we gather on these steps to carry out the orderly and peaceful transfer of power. And we are grateful to President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama for their gracious aid throughout this transition. They have been magnificent. Thank you. Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. Politicians prospered, but the jobs left and the factories closed. The establishment protected itself, but not the citizens of our country. Their victories have not been your victories. Their triumphs have not been your triumphs. And while they celebrated in our nation's capital, there was little to celebrate for struggling families all across our land. That all changes starting right here and right now, because this moment is your moment. It belongs to you. It belongs to everyone gathered here today and everyone watching all across America. This is your day. This is your celebration. And this, the United States of America, is your country. What truly...
All right, Johnny Cash Friday, excuse me. We got one more hour of this show coming your way next, folks. We're going to get into a little bit about what Mike Pence said about China when we come back, as well as more on these Kavanaugh developments. They're expecting a cloture vote in the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation process sometime this morning, and then the full confirmation sometime Saturday afternoon. Let's hope they get it done. It's been a wild 2 weeks, hasn't it? One more hour of Conduit News coming your way next.
The news and talk of Northeast Arkansas. This is News Talk 101.3 FM and 12:30 AM KBTM, Jonesboro, an EAB radio station.
Matter is not which party controls our government, but whether our government is controlled by the people. January 20th, 2017 will be remembered as the day the people became the rulers of this nation again. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. Everyone is listening to you now. You came by the tens of millions to become part of a historic movement, the likes of which the world has never seen before. At the center of this movement is a crucial conviction that a nation exists to serve its citizens. Americans want great schools for their children, safe neighborhoods for their families, and good jobs for themselves. These are just and reasonable demands of righteous people and a righteous public. But for too many of our citizens, a different reality exists. Mothers and children trapped in poverty in our inner cities, rusted out factories scattered like tombstones across the landscape of our nation, an education system flush with cash, but which leaves our young and beautiful students deprived of all knowledge. And the crime, and the gangs, and the drugs that have stolen too many lives and robbed our country of so much unrealized potential. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. We are one nation, and their pain is our pain. Their dreams are our dreams, and their success will be our success. We share one heart, one home, and one glorious destiny. The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans. For many decades, we've enriched foreign industry at the expense of American industry, subsidized the armies of other countries, while allowing for the very sad depletion of our military. We've defended other nations' borders while refusing to defend our own. And spent trillions and trillions of dollars overseas while America's infrastructure has fallen into disrepair and decay. We've made other countries rich, while the wealth, strength, and confidence of our country has dissipated over the horizon. One by one, the factories shuttered and left our shores, with not even a thought about the millions and millions of American workers that were left behind. The wealth of our middle class has been ripped from their homes and then redistributed all across the world. But that is the past, and now we are looking only to the future. We assembled here today are issuing a new decree to be heard in every city, in every foreign capital, and in every hall of power. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward. It's going to be only America first. America first.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers.
They seem to be in full-scale retreat from spending cuts and are talking about raising people's taxes again. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is on now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the program. Oh, wait a second. I'm sorry. I've got my own self is playing here. That's because of Conduit News. Joe's telling me jokes in here. That's because we have a feature on conduitnews.com where if there's a YouTube video embedded, it automatically starts. We're going to have the Conduit Fraction quiz coming up here in a little bit, Joe, so you need to prep for that. We're doing it on Issue 4. Issue 4 is the casino amendment that we're all going to be voting on. Yeah. The casino amendment we're all going to be voting on. That's right. Can you imagine, the medical marijuana process? Who's going to get licenses? Who's not going to get licenses? Who's going to grow? Who's not going to grow? Who's going to get bribed? Who's not going to get bribed? Everybody gets a bribe. That process is corrupt. Can you imagine the bidding process on casinos? What's going to happen? Man, I'm telling you, as corrupt as Arkansas is, the last thing we need are casinos in the state of Arkansas. That's the way I feel about it, at least. I don't know about you. The telephone number this morning, 870-275-9799. Oh, it's also Johnny Cash Friday, by the way, which is a day where we try to listen to as much Johnny Cash music as we can, while at the same time peppering in the news and events of the day. For our online listeners, I'm so sorry. You guys don't get to listen to Johnny Cash music because radio versus digital platforms, copyright issues. It's frustrating. So you guys are listening to President Donald Trump's inauguration speech, which is really, really, really appropriate. It's appropriate today. The Senate is on the heels. We are on the verge of confirming President Donald Trump's second Supreme Court justice. The left has been so desperate. Their tactics have been exposed to a lot of people. A lot of new people have realized for the first time that this is a sham, that there really is a force out there that just wants to stop everything the president does. And listen, I know that force existed when President Obama was in office. We're not going to deny that. But the Republicans, but if that force were the same level, then Lindsey Graham wouldn't have voted for Elena Kagan and Sonia Sotomayor, right? That wouldn't have happened. It's different. It's more extreme. Protesters are being bussed in. You got this. We'll get to the Soros article here in a minute, but George Soros is very much a part of this. We're also going to talk about the man who roundhouse kicked a pro-life activist in the face because he didn't like her answer. Oh, by the way, that man's been fired. There is a little bit of sanity that's returning to the situation when you have James O'Keefe's videos targeting these deep state actors who are actually Democratic socialists. And what happens? They actually have been fired because they've been exposed as working for the Democrat Socialists of America while on the taxpayer dime. How many more How many more people are there like that? What is the government doing to take steps to root them out and fire the other people? Because where there's one, there's more. And there were, what, 3? Yeah, well, this guy who roundhouse kicked a pro-life activist in the face just because he didn't like her standing up for the unborn. He was fired from his job when the video went viral, which is good. But let's start with Mike Pence. Let's start with Mike Pence. Vice President Mike Pence yesterday had some choice words for the communist government of China. Very choice words. Now, keep in mind here that this all this is going on, as I'm going to read you directly from this Yahoo article, but while all of this is going on, I want you to keep in mind that the state of Arkansas, according to Talk Business and Politics, your taxpayer dollars in the Arkansas Economic Development Commission are daily going, they claim that they are daily talking with communist Chinese companies trying to keep the channels open so that they will still come here, use our resources, become rich, and send the profits back home. They are still in communication. The Asa Hutchinson's economic policy, that is very communist Chinese centric. It is still in full force. They are still actively, according to Talk Business and Politics article from a couple of weeks ago, they are still actively looking at these Chinese companies wanting, but guess what? Donald Trump has stopped that agenda. Asa Hutchinson's, dealings with the Chinese is not consistent. It's not consistent with the Make America Great Again agenda. Obviously, now that doesn't mean that there's not going to be any Chinese deals. Maybe they'll be able to slip one through, but right now there's a trade war on, and right now we have the Chinese stealing our intellectual property to the tune of an estimated $600 billion a year. We have them invading the South China Sea, which, by the way, the South China Sea, it'd be like the United States invading as far away as South America, right? I mean, so our essentially our shores end, let's say Miami and Florida, and we're expanding. It's the South China Sea. It's got our name in it. But so this is Vice President Mike Pence yesterday. He accused the Chinese of military aggression, commercial theft, and rising human rights violations as he cast the Asian power as a villain bent on interfering in upcoming U.S. elections. I thought the left should be concerned about interfering in elections. In a blistering speech that expands on complaints aired by President Trump at the United Nations last week, Pence accused China of waging an unprecedented effort to influence American public opinion ahead of critical congressional elections November 6th. Now, I'm going to go ahead and throw out here, this whole Brett Kavanaugh thing could be a Chinese plot. Who sat on the letter? Who sat on the letter? Who sat on the Christine Blasey Ford letter until the last minute? Dianne Feinstein. Dianne Feinstein is according to some, she's a Chinese plant. Okay, no, she's not a Chinese plant, Paul. She just had somebody who was working for the Chinese government in her office for 20 years until the FBI told her about it and said, hey, this guy's a foreign agent. This guy's a secret agent. This guy's a spy. This guy's been spying on you. Oh, I didn't know. I just me and my husband have made money all of our lives off of Chinese deals, but I had no idea. Dianne Feinstein could be trying to hurt Donald Trump domestically. That's what this could be. This whole thing. Let's sit on the letter, do the Chinese government spending, because right now, right now China's frustrated. Their economy's hurting, and they're wanting to attack the farmers community, the farming, the agriculture community, the places across the country that are having to put up with temporary evils, okay, on the basis and the understanding that, hey, look, like we're about to reclaim American sovereignty in the marketplace globally. Well, these are states that Donald Trump won in 2016. Well, let's try to, and China's frustrated. China's frustrated that Donald Trump is willing to go to the mat, and he's willing to risk the domestic credibility that he has here. He's willing to risk political vulnerability because he believes the American people are behind him. That's because the American people are behind him. But Donald Trump believes that. And China's unnerving because it's not like a normal American president. A normal American president that doesn't have this kind of broad, new support that the country hasn't seen in a long time wouldn't be able to do what that China would be able to push, China would be able to threaten. Donald Trump, right? What does he say in the art of the deal? Always be willing to walk away. Donald Trump's willing to walk away. I don't understand that. And so that's what Vice President Mike Pence is saying here, right? That's what he's saying. Quote, to put it bluntly, President Trump's leadership is working. China wants a different American president, Pence said at the Hudson Institute, a conservative Washington think tank. There can be no doubt China is meddling in American democracy. Of course, China denies this. They hit back furiously. They also were exposed. Apparently, the Chinese government has been, according to a huge, I mean, it was a giant report, a bombshell, if you will. They've been putting little tiny small computer chips in your iPhones. They've been spying on you. Just hours before Pence spoke, the U.S. Department indicted 7 Russian intelligence agents. Pence went on to say, quote, as a senior career member of our intelligence community told me just this week, what the Russians are doing pales in comparison to what China is doing across the country. So we have a problem here. That problem is China, okay? Pence lashed out at China for focusing its retaliatory tariffs on states vital to the Republicans' electoral chances. He also slammed Beijing for placing a multi-page advertisement extolling the virtues of U.S.-China trade in the Des Moines Register, the highest circulation newspaper in Iowa, a swing state whose longtime governor, Terry Branstad, is Trump's ambassador to Beijing. Such paid supplements by foreign governments are commonplace in U.S. newspapers, but Pence complained that the United States was not allowed to print similar advertisements in China's state-controlled press. Wouldn't you know that? Using our own freedom against us, the totalitarians using our own freedom against us. Yeah, see, they think we're stupid for not being a totalitarian government, communist Chinese government. They think that, why would you do that? We're going to use this against you. Yeah. Yeah, the Chinese are a much bigger deal. Of course, the Democrats, I really believe this, the Democrats don't really care about China because they are, they're unsullied, the glorious revolution of Mao, it hasn't fallen to pieces yet. So they look at China and say, see, it can work. Hey, it can work. USA could do this. Versus Russia. Oh, they're so concerned about Russia. Well, Russia's no longer the Soviet Union. That fell apart. They don't want to defend. Russia's the enemy now. Russia's the enemy because our Marxist experiment, our chalkboard, the way it was supposed to work, it didn't work out for the Soviet Union too well, did it? No, it didn't. Now, by the way, we're ignoring that in both of these instances, millions of people died in the 20th century because of totalitarianism and communism. The idea that, we're just going to all, pull our resources together and divide them up equally. We may have to starve an entire section of the population here, but, it'll be fine. No big deal. So, why would any governor of any state in the country direct their Economic Development Commission to be in constant contact with the communist Chinese when the President of the United States and the Vice President of the United States and the FBI and the CIA have open investigations in all 50 states about the Chinese, when they are trying to influence our elections, according to the government, when they are stealing our intellectual property? Why would any governor of any state, Republican or Democrat, well, you can imagine the Democrats would be doing this because they hate Donald Trump. Why would any Republican governor be doing this? Why would any Republican governor be continuing to try to craft your economic policy around the Chinese coming to Arkansas in light of what's going on? No. The truth is it should be abandoned. And while it might have been hip and cool to do business with the Chinese ever since the Clintons, I know they said, Richard Nixon, but ever since the Clintons, started trying to bring capitalism to China. And, of course, the Clintons never gave the Chinese anything, right? No. They never gave China military technology. Not only did that happen, we also have Hillary Clinton and her basically her server that she leaves in her bathroom, and the Chinese government basically gets all of her emails. All of them. They were seeing them. They were seeing them basically in real time. We now know that, by the way. That's fairly new information that they were able to see them in real time. And, so they also have that going on for them. And, but Dianne Feinstein, she's not a Chinese agent. Why would back to this economic development issue, though. Folks, if this doesn't expose the whole concept of giving taxpayer money to Chinese companies or any companies as being just a little fishy, and I don't know what will. Taking a step back from that, though, I disagree with that economic development philosophy. I disagree with incentives, but hey, I know all 50 states do it. Why not try to recruit American companies to come here, though? Why are we recruiting Chinese companies to come here? Can you imagine if Asa Hutchinson, what the left would be doing if Asa Hutchinson had inked a bunch of deals with Russian companies? Oh, people would be losing their mind, right? Because Russia's the threat. Oh, but Chinese companies are okay. We're in a trade war, okay? We're rattling economic sabers, if you will. We're also rattling our military. Both sides are. They're expanding. And China is trying to supplant the United States. Now, China has also helped, so we're told, with North Korea, and that's a good thing. That is a good thing. Let's be clear here. What we want is peace. But when they are basically, sending people over here as the heads of companies, and we're going to ignore that they're loyal to the Chinese government. When the Chinese government says jump, they say how high. They're not independent. They're not privately owned. And they're stealing. You had a guy 2 months ago who was, indicted for a Chinese national. 2 of them indicted for stealing rice technology from Stuttgart. They're stealing our intellectual property. Why would we do business with the Chinese? If you want jobs in Arkansas, surely there's a better way. Surely there's a more productive way. Why China, by the way? Why is it China? Why not somebody else? Why not somebody else? It's Johnny Cash Friday. We're going to take a break. We're going to be back here in just a moment.
Every decision on trade, on taxes, on immigration, on foreign affairs will be made to benefit American workers and American families. We must protect our borders from the ravages of other countries, making our products, stealing our companies, and destroying our jobs. Protection will lead to great prosperity and strength. I will fight for you with every breath in my body, and I will never, ever let you down. America will start winning again, winning like never before. We will bring back our jobs. We will bring back our borders. We will bring back our wealth. And we will bring back our dreams. We will build new roads and highways and bridges and airports and tunnels and railways all across our wonderful nation. We will get our people off of welfare and back to work, rebuilding our country with American hands and American labor. We will follow 2 simple rules: buy American and hire American. We will seek friendship and goodwill with the nations of the world, but we do so with the understanding that it is the right of all nations to put their own interests first. We do not seek to impose our way of life on anyone, but rather to let it shine as an example. We will shine for everyone to follow. We will reinforce old alliances and form new ones and unite the civilized world against radical Islamic terrorism, which we will eradicate completely from the face of the earth. At the bedrock of our politics will be a total allegiance to the United States of America. And through our loyalty to our country, we will rediscover our loyalty to each other. When you open your heart to patriotism, there is no room for prejudice. The Bible tells us how good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. We must speak our minds openly, debate our disagreements honestly, but always pursue solidarity. When America is united, America is totally unstoppable. There should be no fear. We are protected, and we will always be protected. We will be protected by the great men and women of our military and law enforcement. And most importantly, we will be protected by God.
The big hack. Bloomberg Business Week. Welcome back to the program. The big hack, how China used a tiny chip to infiltrate the United States and companies. There's another article about how essentially scary it is that this chip that has been inserted into your iPhones and probably others. How are you going to stop China from doing that if everything's being made over there? How in the world do you stop it? How? It's the factories are on Chinese soil. How do you stop it? Again, another bad result of this outsourcing everything to China. I mean, how do you stop something like this? Somebody's saying essentially, this chip that's in there, in some of these phones, it might be what is called God mode, which is you kind of basically they're saying it's a killing stroke. I mean, it's the information that they're skimming and everything else, and who knows what else it can do. Let me go back to Arkansas for a second. Knowing all of this, why would we want to bring the Chinese government to Arkansas and give them our taxpayer incentives and everything else so that they can use our resources? That is all legitimate. But you know what else? In terms of legitimate points as to why it's bad. There's a bomb testing facility in Camden, Arkansas. There are defense contractors that use it. Basically, our government, why would we want to give them a place to live? Is somebody going to be watching that? Is somebody going to be watching, to make, all I'm saying is, does that make any sense? Would you do that with it when it's clearly we're in competition with them? It just does. It's not a good idea, and I don't know what would have to happen. And this is what I want to know. What would China have to do for Asa Hutchinson to stop pursuing these deals with China? Again, Talk Business and Politics says the Arkansas Economic Development Commission is still trying to make these deals happen. They had the fanfare, right? They had the fanfare. They had the press conferences. They had the Chinese Communist executive come and talk to Arkansas. You remember that? Happened last year. As a matter of fact, we got some audio of it. And there were several Chinese deals. Hey, we'll play some of that audio for you as soon as we come back. You're going to want to hear it. Stay tuned.
Finally, we must think big and dream even bigger. In America, we understand that a nation is only living as long as it is striving. We will no longer accept politicians who are all talk and no action, constantly complaining but never doing anything about it. The time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action. Do not allow anyone to tell you that it cannot be done. No challenge can match the heart and fight and spirit of America. We will not fail. Our country will thrive and prosper again. We stand at the birth of a new millennium, ready to unlock the mysteries of space, to free the earth from the miseries of disease, and to harness the energies, industries, and technologies of tomorrow. A new national pride will stir our souls, lift our sights, and heal our divisions. It's time to remember that old wisdom our soldiers will never forget, that whether we are black or brown or white, we all bleed the same red blood of patriots. We all enjoy the same glorious freedoms, and we all salute the same great American flag. And whether a child is born in the urban sprawl of Detroit or the windswept plains of Nebraska, they look up at the same night sky, they fill their heart with the same dreams, and they are infused with the breath of life by the same almighty Creator. So to all Americans in every city, near and far, small and large, from mountain to mountain, from ocean to ocean, hear these words: you will never be ignored again. Your voice, your hopes, and your dreams will define our American destiny. And your courage and goodness and love will forever guide us along the way. Together, we will make America strong again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America. Chief Justice Roberts, President Carter, President Clinton, President Bush, President Obama, fellow Americans, and people of the world, thank you. We, the citizens of America, are now joined in a great national effort to rebuild our country and restore its promise for all of our people. Together, we will determine the course of America and the world for many, many years to come. We will face challenges. We will confront hardships, but we will get the job done. Every 4 years, we gather on these steps to carry out the orderly and peaceful transfer of power. And we are grateful to President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama for their gracious aid throughout this transition. They have been magnificent. Thank you. Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning. Because today, we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. Politicians prospered, but the jobs...
So we got a copy... we got a copy of a news report back last year when the... Oh, what's going on? Just go ahead and stop on that. So we got a copy of a news report from, I guess, last year or 2 years. What was it, 2 years ago? Last year? Anyway, whatever the Communist Chinese executive... we got audio of that press conference. Let's go ahead and flash back and listen to that report.
Bob Maloney here with a developing story from ASA News The Parrot. China is coming to Arkansas. We go live to the press conference where the Communist Chinese executive is addressing Arkansans for the first time. Let's listen into the translator.
On behalf of the government of the People's Republic of China, we invite you to come and visit the newest named city in Arkansas, China, Delphia. We are very pleased to own an American city. Our communist government is proud to do business with the mediocre state of Arkansas. We are happy to take your money and your trees and send the profits back home. The Communist government of China was pleased to learn the taxpayers of Arkansas are excited to contribute their money with the hope, if you build it, one day jobs will come. We are excited to take your fields of capitalism and turn them into fields of communism, where every Arkansan has nightly dreams of Mao. China is looking forward to our investment of $1 billion in what is now called Arkansas. We see this as an investment in our future, and that future will be called New Beijing. Chinese investment will make Arkansas a great place for jobs as the People's Republic of China will succeed where the Soviets failed. As we build our roots deep in Arkansas, we are thrilled with the potential new ideas and advancement we will share with our people back home. Soon we will have the world's largest runway in the South China Sea, and we thank Arkansas for contributing to our noble cause. In closing, once we make China great again, all of you will see the glory of the revolution of Mao. And Arkansas, whatever you do, please never call the FBI.
Paul Harrell, Parrot.
Yeah, so that was, I guess, a clip, if you will, a flashback to the news report about the communist executive, coming to Arkansas. Reggie on Facebook writes, "Our China saw." Welcome to the great state of our China saw, everyone. We just still want to hang on a little bit of our culture. We will rename this place our China Solve, though, because we just got to sell our freedom away because they're promising us jobs. They promising us jobs over here. And, instead of shrinking government, we're not going to shrink government. And instead, we'll leave government the same size and let it continue to grow and basically do business with the Communist Chinese. It's one thing to trade. It's another thing when they're saying, hey, come over here and, put your roots, here, and it just doesn't make any sense. Okay, so here we go. Let's see, what are we going to do next here? Let's go to this story about the pro-life activists. Oh, by the way, just a little brief Kavanaugh update. Looks like we're talking about 10:30 Eastern, the cloture vote, so that'd be 9:30. 9:30 this morning, according to reports, they will have the cloture vote on Brett Kavanaugh. So that's a very exciting news, and it looks like they're going to have the votes. And the left is going to melt down even more. The protesters are descending. I believe, I kept saying, look, when is the left going to get violent? Just so you know, because I had some people correct me. Yes, the left is already violent. We know this. But I'm just saying, when Kavanaugh is confirmed, if Kavanaugh is confirmed, the left is going to descend into a meltdown that, who knows, maybe the likes of which we've never seen. And the only reason I say this is because they're looking for an excuse to do this. They've had protesters in all of these major cities ready to take to the streets. That are paid protesters. George Soros funded. They've had this because, if he fires Rod Rosenstein, oh my gosh, we've got to stand up for America and against Russia, and we've got to take to the streets. That's what they've been saying. They've been begging. They want Trump to fire him so bad so that they can protest, so they can burn a few businesses to the ground, right? I'm just telling you, they could push that button if Kavanaugh's confirmed, and it is a button. It is a system. It's an automated process. They're paying these people to be out there. And then, of course, you've got celebrities. We talked last hour about, Amy Schumer, the no-talent comedian who steals other comedians' jokes. She got arrested. 100 people were arrested, thankfully, because they were invading the Senate building. Did you see this? This is an unfortunate story, but you had a man who roundhouse kicked a woman at a pro-life event. This was in Toronto 2 days ago. A man captured on video roundhouse kicking a pro-life woman has been identified, and he lost his contract at a Toronto hair salon as a result. Oh, my goodness. I didn't know he worked at a hair salon. Here's the video. This is what happened. Go ahead and give this a watch, Joe.
It's hard to confuse everybody. But still, it's better to be, you want to kill them with kindness, remember? That's right. What?
All right, stop. This is hilarious. The pro-choice, or the pro-abortion side on this protest are saying kill him. The woman is at least saying, yeah, we just got to kill him with kindness, which is very ironic considering she's talking about killing babies. But yeah, just kill him with kindness. And then her friend here turns violent. Watch.
Filming you the whole time. Which is why I say kill with kindness. Guess what? Hey.
Destruction of private property. It's against the law.
Somebody gets raped by somebody and they're like, I'm a 16-year-old and I can't have this baby. Think you should keep it?
It's a baby.
Yeah.
If someone was raped and she gave birth and she decided to kill her 3-year-old child.
I meant to get your phone.
Someone call the cops.
Meant to take your phone.
Do not touch me.
Yeah, so then the hairstylist proceeds to roundhouse kick the woman in the face, and then claims, you hear him saying, "Oh no, I meant to kick your phone," like he's some sort of like ninja master who's just my aim is always so spot on when I roundhouse kick somebody, Chuck Norris style, Johnny Sweep the Leg style. I meant to kick your phone, and he probably did. He just probably, he probably thought he could. Men, he's definitely not a stereotypical man, right? He's definitely this guy. Put the article up there. Look at the guy's photo. He's got this guy's certainly not the, scroll down. He's certainly not the modern or the traditional, let me just say this, the traditional, concept of masculinity. That's what I'm right. He's certainly not the traditional concept of masculinity. This guy here, this is after he kicked the woman. That's kind of what he looked like. He didn't like her answer, apparently. He didn't like her answer. Her answer was, yeah, it's still a baby, though. And so, because is it any secret? I mean, here's the thing. Is it any secret? I mean, I see a thread of consistency. Abortion in and of itself is an act of violence. Abortion is an act of violence against somebody else. And it's no surprise that the left, I mean, if that's okay, why can't you just roundhouse kick some woman to the face who's just, giving you some, I disagree with your political speech, I'm going to Chuck Norris, Yeah, Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse. Yeah, you know what? There are a lot of good Hollywood roundhouse kicking people if you really think about it. Peter Griffin. But this guy apparently was then fired from his job because this went viral. He worked for a place called Noble Studios. Oh, not very noble. Yeah. Only the noble. And they write, it has been brought to our attention that Jordan Hunt has been caught on camera assaulting an innocent bystander at a pro-life rally. We don't condone his actions, and he has been let go. We believe that everyone has a right to an opinion, and that right to voice their opinion, and the right to voice their opinion without fear of physical violence. See, there is some sanity in the world, right? There is some sanity in the world. And what is this? This is a Canadian company saying this? That's a big deal considering it's Canada that tried to compel speech by passing a law saying you must use the proper pronoun. Yeah, they did. That's why Jordan Peterson is famous. They did pass the law. That's why Jordan Peterson is. They basically listen. There are instances here when the insanity of the left activates movements that are counter to it. And in the context of Jordan Peterson, I bet you right now, as many young people as Jordan Peterson is responsible for waking up philosophically, I bet you right now there's a lot of people on the left that would say, yeah, if we could do it over, we would rather Canada not have passed that law because it activated a guy like Jordan Peterson who has been wildly successful at waking young people up and making them realize, oh, wait a second, yeah, like freedom is way better, like personal individual freedom, way better than compelled speech and the government, way better than that. And he, he's thinking about things in such a way, and he's making young people think about, and I guarantee you they wish he didn't, maybe they shouldn't have gone as far. And the same thing with the Kavanaugh, right? What have they done? Who else have they woken up, right? Who else have they, awakened a sleeping giant, if you will? Who else is... Because they have seen the madness of the left. They have seen the hysteria of the left. They have seen the fact that, pretty much, 10, 20 years from now, if they keep broadening the definition of what sexual assault is, you're going to start seeing, well, are you a man? Oh, you're a potential rapist. You're a potential, violent criminal. I mean, pretty soon you're not going to be able to enter into a relationship with a woman unless, you get them to sign a contract. Go ahead and check the boxes of the things. Check the boxes of the things that you're comfortable, participating in. These activities. What can I kiss you? No. Better yet, here's a baseball diamond. Okay, here's a baseball diamond. Where am I allowed to go here? First base? Are you good with first base? You know what I'm saying? I wasn't. I'm telling you.
Then we need to have a universal what is first, second, and third base.
Oh, yeah, and that is actually that is more complicated. That is evolving as the more risque society gets. First base is not first base anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're at home plate starting to run the bases, and home plate is now the default. It's now probably a lot worse than it used to be.
Probably what second base used to be is now home plate.
Is now home plate. Yeah,
just imagine that.
The starting point. The phone number 870-275-9799 is telephone number. That's 870-275-9799. Real quick before we go to break, let me check the headlines one more time here. By the way, you're listening to Conduit News Radio. Oh, check this out. Yeah, unemployment is now at its lowest rate since 1969. We have the jobs movement. Not the jobs movement. We have the jobs report which I just saw. It was 120,000 plus in the month of September added. Did I see that? Anyway, it's really, really good stuff. And, this headline here on Drudge, the Me Too movement. The first year ends with more than 425 accused. You know, it wouldn't, if Amy Cohen Barrett had been nominated instead of Brett Kavanaugh, it would be the He Too movement. That's what I think. Yeah. No. You're going to have men, right, coming out of the woodwork saying that I know Me Too includes both. I'm just saying you're going to have, it's going to be ridiculous. Let's just hope they confirm Kavanaugh. I'm telling you right now, if the left is successful with what they have attempted to do, I just don't see you getting any Supreme Court justice nominated, right? Okay, so we're going to take a break. It's Johnny Cash Friday, and we really appreciate your starting the beginning of your weekend with us here at the intersection of conservative ideas and reality. And we'll be back in a moment.
And the factories closed. The establishment protected itself, but not the citizens of our country. Their victories have not been your victories. Their triumphs have not been your triumphs. And while they celebrated in our nation's capital, there was little to celebrate for struggling families all across our land. That all changes starting right here and right now, because this moment is your moment. It belongs to you. It belongs to everyone gathered here today and everyone watching all across America. This is your day. This is your celebration. And this, the United States of America, is your country. What truly matters is not which party controls our government, but whether our government is controlled by the people. January 20th, 2017 will be remembered as the day the people became the rulers of this nation again. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. Everyone is listening to you now. You came by the tens of millions to become part of a historic movement, the likes of which the world has never seen before. At the center of this movement is a crucial conviction that a nation exists to serve its citizens. Americans want great schools for their children, safe neighborhoods for their families, and good jobs for themselves.
If you believe the Second Amendment protects your right to defend your home with a firearm, where do you turn if the government confiscates your gun? To the courthouse. The Founding Fathers created your Seventh Amendment right to a civil jury to protect your freedoms. The courthouse is where you fight the overreaching hand of government. And the Brad Hendricks Law Firm is where the fight starts. Call the Brad Hendricks Law Firm at 501-221-0444. The Brad Hendricks Law Firm in Little Rock, standing ready using the Seventh Amendment to protect your Second Amendment rights. Russellville-based firearms manufacturer Omega are making clones of the most notable German firearms in the world. These delayed rotor-lock firearms have been and are currently used by law enforcement and military worldwide. At Omega, they manufacture their guns right here in Arkansas and produce the best reproduction in the marketplace that comes with a complete 5-year warranty. At Omega, they take firearm manufacturing seriously and offer discounts to active and retired law enforcement. Whether you're using Omega firearms to defend the public, defend your family, or for target practice, Omega has your back. For pricing, go to omega-guns.com. That's omega-guns.com. If you're like me, You believe that small business is the heart of Arkansas's economic engine, and it should be viewed that way by the politicians in Little Rock. Conduit for Commerce also believes, like you and I believe, policies that achieve less regulation and lower taxation help small business in Arkansas thrive. Other policies like small, constitutionally consistent government and reducing citizen dependency on government keeps it from growing and expanding its influence on our daily lives. Conduit for Commerce works every day to educate the general public and legislators on these important priorities in the name of Arkansas small business. By the way, contributions to Conduit for Commerce are tax deductible. Log on now to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Go there now and learn the facts on protecting small business in Arkansas.
Man of righteous people and a righteous public. But for too many of our citizens, a different reality exists. Mothers and children trapped in poverty in our inner cities, rusted out factories scattered like tombstones across the landscape of our nation, an education system flush with cash, but which leaves our young and beautiful students deprived of all knowledge. And the crime, and the gangs, and the drugs that have stolen too many lives and robbed our country of so much unrealized potential. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. We are one nation, and their pain is our pain. Their dreams are our dreams, and their success will be our success. We share one heart, one home, and one glorious destiny. The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans. For many decades, we've enriched foreign industry at the expense of American industry, subsidized the armies of other countries while allowing for the very sad depletion of our military. We've defended.
I'm going to direct you guys who are listening to this Johnny Cash music right now, 5 Feet High and Rising. You need to go read the David Ferguson article over at conduitforaction.org called 5 Feet High and Rising if you want to know how high is the corruption in Arkansas. He's the former head of the Bureau of Legislative Research down at the Marble Palace in Little Rock, and you need to read that article. It's fantastic. The Judiciary Committee has released its executive summary of supplemental FBI reporting on Brett Kavanaugh. According to the summary of the report, they interviewed 10 people. They reached out to 11. They focused exclusively on witnesses with potential firsthand knowledge. There's no corroboration of these allegations. And you know why? Because Chuck Schumer and Dianne Feinstein, they've seen the report, and when they came out, you know what they said? Well, they didn't interview Blasey Ford or Kavanaugh. Well, guess what? The two of them just had sworn testimony. They submitted sworn statements. They were under oath when they testified. You don't have to interview those two people. You interview the witnesses to see if you can get anybody to say it happened the way Blasey Ford said it would happen, or said it happened, or it didn't happen, or whatever. Anyway, Schumer and Feinstein know, and the Democrats have taken a huge political hit here. And if Kavanaugh's confirmed, it'll be interesting. I said this last Friday. What are the talking heads going to say? How are they going to spin this? In all probability, they're going to move on to Donald Trump and his taxes or whatever else they can find, because the media in the Democrat Party, they are in bed together for sure. They're one and the same. They are one and the same. Folks, that's all the time we have for today. Have a great weekend. Arkansas, be safe.